Module 3 Irrigation. Under this title, we will be seeing the necessity, benefits, and ill effects of irrigation. So, first we will see what is irrigation. We all know irrigation is defined as the process of artificially supplying water to soil for raising crops. Or, in other words, we can see irrigation is the process of applying a controlled amount of water to plants at a particular interval or at needed intervals. So, this irrigation helps to grow agricultural crops, it also helps to maintain landscapes and revegetate the disturbed soil in very dry areas and during periods of very less or average rainfall. So we know that if you take a particular crop throughout its period of growth, it may require a certain amount of water at some fixed interval of time, right? So if the particular area is having plenty of rainfall, natural rainfall, then there is no need for irrigation. But on the other hand, if there is no natural rainfall in that particular area, there is a large demand for irrigation. Because in such areas, the water requirement of crop can be met only by irrigation. So that's an introduction on irrigation. Now let's see the necessity of irrigation. Now, the following are some important factors which govern the necessity of irrigation. We'll see one by one. The first one is inadequate rainfall, or in other words, we can say it as insufficient rainfall. So, as I said earlier, if rainfall is in plenty in an area, there is no need for irrigation. So, irrigation is necessary in the areas where rainfall is insufficient for the satisfactory growth of the crop and the plants. Then the second one is non-uniform rainfall, or we can call it as uneven distribution of rainfall. So it is especially the distribution of rainfall in the zone of crop area. So in a particular area, if the crops are grown and these crops are not getting uniform amount of rainfall, only a particular portion of the crop is getting rainfall, then it may not be in a uniform way, or it will be an uneven way of distribution of rainfall. So in that case, we need irrigation for fulfilling the needs of all the crops. Okay. Third one, growing a number of crops during an year. So we know there are a variety of number of crops. We all know kharif and rabi crops, right? So likewise, there are some other categories of crops also, like food crops, feed crops, fiber, oil crops, ornamental crops, and industrial crops. So for example, food crops, if you see the fruits, vegetables, all these harvested for human consumption belongs to the food crops. And what about the kharif and rabi crops? Kharif crops includes examples like cotton, then maize, rice, groundnut. All these are examples of kharif crops. And rabi crops, it includes barley, peas, wheat, etc. So in a particular year, we can grow a number of crops. For that, irrigation is very much necessary. Then growing perennial crops. So what are perennial crops? Perennial crops are crops that, unlike annual crops, they don't need to be replanted each year. Okay, so after harvest, they automatically grow back. Or in simply we can say that the plant that lives more than 2 years. Okay, the examples can include a banana, plantain. All these are perennial crops that take the appearance of trees as they mature. Then growing superior crops. Superior crops are what we call as high quality crops. Okay, so for growing that we need irrigation. And then increasing the yield of crops. So in agriculture or in irrigation, the yield is actually a measurement of the amount of crop grown or a product such as wool or meat or milk, etc. Okay. So in this case, the yield of crops can be increased with the help of irrigation. Then next is insurance against drought. So some existing crop may require insurance schemes. So which actually covers, it's actually a coverage against water deficit problems. So that is also providing under irrigation. So these are the necessity of irrigation. Now let's see the benefits of irrigation. The following are the benefits of irrigation. The first one is yield of crops. So the yield of crop can be increased by using irrigation even in the period of very low rainfall. Okay, and the second one is optimum benefit. So the optimum use of water is possible by irrigation to obtain maximum output from different type of crops. Then the third one is elimination of mixed cropping. So what do you mean by mixed cropping? Mixed cropping means sowing different type of crops together in the same field. Okay, so usually this type of mixed cropping is not desirable because different type of crops require different amount of water, and also the field conditions may also be different. So the farmers may not be getting much benefited from this type of mixed cropping practices. So if there is enough irrigation water, the practice of mixed cropping can be eliminated, and the farmers can always go to some single superior crop, and they can grow that particular crop alone and get a maximum benefit out of it. Then the fourth one is prosperity of farmers. So if the farmers are getting the irrigation water throughout the year, then they can grow two or three or more number of crops in a year, which actually adds to their prosperity. And the next one is sources of revenue. For example, you can take water tax. So when water tax is taken from the farmers for supplying water, it actually adds to the revenue of the country. Okay, then hydroelectric power generation. As we know, we can generate hydroelectric power from with the help of irrigation. So the reservoir from which irrigation water is supplied may be used for generation of power. Also, you can use canals for mini hydro projects. Okay. Then next one is water supply. So irrigation water may be used as a source of different sources like domestic, industrial water supply, etc. Then general communication. So along the canal bank, there will be small ways. We call it as inspection road. So it actually serves as a communication link between remote village areas. So that is a benefit of irrigation. The next one is navigation. So if the irrigation canals are very big and if it is deep, they may be used for navigation, like navigable waterway. Then next one is aesthetic view. So with the help of irrigation, we can also improve the aesthetic view of a particular area by installing a man-made lake or a beautiful pond, etc. The next is development of fishery. For the development of fishery, reservoirs and canals can be utilized. Then tree plantation. If you're growing trees along the banks of a canal, it can have lot of positive side, which includes like it can increase the wealth from a timber, and also other important thing is it can even control soil erosion. Okay, then protection from famine. So food production is increased due to irrigation by producing more crops, which is used as food. So this protects a country from famine situations. Now, increase of groundwater level. So due to constant seepage and also percolation of water from canal, the groundwater level in the nearby areas can be increased, and also the people can get more well water. Okay, the next one is aid of civilization. So irrigation water is normally available from river valley projects, and also usually some tribes living very near to the valley, they adopt irrigation as their profession, and they increase production out of it, and they live peacefully, which leads to the general civilization of the country. So that also is a benefit of irrigation. The next one is nutrition of population. So due to irrigation, increased agricultural production takes place, and this production improves the nutrition of the people. The next is recreation. So recreation facilities like parks, restaurants may be developed near the canal banks or also reservoir sites. Then social and cultural improvement. So it actually increases the cultural and social level of population living nearby canals and reservoirs. So tourist interest in these areas of newly constructed reservoir may be increased in such type of areas. Then last one is self-sufficiency in food. So irrigation makes the country self-sufficient in food by improving the production. So these are the benefits of irrigation. Now, I have listed the direct and indirect benefits of irrigation separately. You can also go through this. All the points have been discussed earlier. The next is the ill effects of irrigation. So, besides the benefits which we have seen now, there are some ill effects of irrigation also. However, benefits are more than ill effects. Okay. So, the first one is a raising of water table. So if seepage is more in a particular area, it can actually raise the water table of the surrounding areas. So what happens? The nearby areas can get waterlogged. Okay. And second one is the formation of marshy areas. Marshy areas are areas which are saturated with water. Okay. So because of the excessive irrigation practice, the areas can turn into a marshy land. Then the third one is dampness of weather, that is a damp climate. So the temperature of the irrigation land can turn into an area of damp climate, which actually affects or it adversely affects the health of the community living in that particular area. Okay, so that is an ill effect of irrigation. Then next one is a loss of soil fertility. That is when soil is irrigated with very high saline water, or sufficient water is not draining out from this irrigated soil, then the soil would convert into saline soil, or it may lose its fertility. So that is also an ill effect of irrigation. Then the next one is soil erosion. So with continuous application of water into the soil can eventually lead to soil erosion. Okay. Then the next is loss of valuable lands. Due to the construction of reservoirs or dams, all the valuable land may be submerged. Okay, so that is an ill effect of irrigation, or a loss due to the irrigation practices. Then next is a return of revenue. So we know that irrigation projects are very complex and also expensive. So if project fails due to the absence of regular maintenance, return of revenue to the government becomes low compared to its cost of construction. Okay, so the maintenance cost is quite high for normal functioning of the project. So these are all the ill effects of irrigation.